So how do we remedy so that they may not go into deeper conditions or deeper issues in terms of their mental well-being?
Yes. Remedy number one is talk.
Yes.
Talk is powerful. Word. Just speaking life, or even bringing those hard conversations to the table, as hard as they may be. Daddy left us. We are not able to afford that game right now or that outfit. Talk. Talk about it, no matter how difficult it is. We should not hide anything.
Yes.
Touch therapy. Our children need touch.
Wow.
Pearl Radio, the home of fresh and classic hits.
It is Pearl Kids with me, Aunty J, on Pearl Radio 96.9, the home of fresh and classic hits. And I am joined by our guest is here, and we are ready for that beautiful, beautiful conversation. I just want you to be able to just sit and listen. For a parent, for that child, and anyone else who is a listener, this is very, very important. Sawa sawa. So we begin now because we are already on this Pearl Kids bus, and we have an amazing conversation about mental health. As the world wraps up this month of suicide prevention, we want to talk about mental health concerning our children, and even the risks that they may be able to take up suicide or have suicidal thoughts. So we want to see that our children could be suffering mental health, and we do not know, or as parents or guardians, we are not aware, or the things that are going through their mind, we are not really aware. So this is the day that we get to hear and get an expert overview of what is happening with our children and with the things going around, not just in our area, even in the world, even in Kenya, the things politically, socially, economically, in the house, what is happening in the house. Our children are partakers of this all things that are happening in their lives as they continue to grow. So are you ready for this conversation? Because I am ready and excited to learn and to be able to know what is happening with our children. Karibu sana.
Asante sana. Aunty J.
Yes. Ndio mimi Aunty J.
Wow, nimefurahi kukutana na wewe.
Asante.
Wewe ni auntie cool, eh? You're a cool auntie.
Yes, I am a cool auntie. Nice. Out there. Mmesikia? I am a cool auntie. So,
I confirm.
You confirm. Thank you so much for confirming.
Thank you, Aunty J.
Thank you. Karibu sana. Please introduce yourself so that the listener can be able to know who you are.
Yes. Thank you. Then I'll also call myself Auntie Nancy.
Oh, thank you. Karibu sana. Auntie Nancy is here.
Yes, Nancy Wanjiru, and I'm a counseling psychologist by profession.
Yes.
And I'm so excited to be here. And I'm a member of the Kenya Christian Professional Forum. Yes. So I'm a Christian and I'm also a professional. Amen. And my profession is counseling psychology. So my work involves talking and talking to raise awareness on mental illness, talking to counsel with people who may be going through issues. I also train life skills because some people may have emotional issues that maybe they don't know how to regulate their emotions. So, and the emotional regulation is one of the major life skills. So I also do life skills training.
Life skill training.
Yes.
Okay. And in your journey or in your profession, do you deal with children too?
Yes. Yes. My specialization is family. And marriage. And when we talk about family, you're talking about children, you're talking about adults, father, mother, children, whether in a marriage relationship, whether they are single, whether they are young. So yes, I do deal with children. Yeah.
So we want to talk about this very pertinent issue about mental health, but now on the angle for children. Do they suffer mental health issues? And we want to know us from there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Children are people too, and they are human beings. And because they are human beings, also they may have mental health issues. And when we talk about mental health, we know that there are conditions, there are mental disorders that may affect any human being, whether it's a child or an adult. When we talk about depression, when we talk about bipolar, when we talk about like anxiety disorders, schizophrenia, children can also be having some of these conditions, because remember, this is a disorder, it's an illness like any other illness. So yes, children may suffer mental disorders like any other person, and so it's very important that parents are keen to observe and know that this child, because there is what we call the normal behavior of a child at any given age. So, and parents, naturally we know, whether you are a parent or not, there is what normal behavior would be for a little one, a 3 months old, 1 year old. There is what you would expect. Again, a 5 year old, there is what you would expect. So if there is something that is extreme outside that normal behavior, what we would call excesses. For instance, a child could be too angry, extremely angry, to a point that they refuse to eat. Maybe they are hurting themselves. Maybe, they can't go to school, or they are always fighting. And they're in a certain age, especially the early years of school, then that should raise an alarm. Because a child who has just joined school and is learning how to socialize, they're happy to be together with their other children. So if the child is withdrawn or always crying, then that should say something. Again, that behavior, observing it now in a teen, because we know teens have some mood issues. You sometimes don't know when they are going to be happy, when they are sad.
Yes,
they'll be sad because they have a pimple. They'll be sad because they feel they are too plump. So again, looking at those symptoms, or looking at some of those behaviors, again, one cannot just classify them as depression, for instance. So there needs to be, parents need to be very, very alert, so that they are able to see this one is not the normal behavior of my daughter, of my child. There's something that has changed. Maybe they are crying a lot. Maybe they are really struggling to live with other children. They are not able to adjust maybe to a new auntie. So when we talk about mental health, I would want us to separate that there are mental health conditions that may need a psychiatrist and a psychologist to come in and actually diagnose, so that child, there can be interventions. And this may be genetic. Maybe there are hormonal imbalances. Maybe there is a family history of all these. Maybe there was a trauma that happened. But there is also, again, when we talk about mental health, the issues that are the environmental issues, like for instance, you are alluding to the funeral of the many children who had burnt in Laikipia and were being buried yesterday. And you can imagine what that does to the other children as they see the little coffins, as they remember their friends. You can imagine what happens to the parents, and even for us as Kenyans, as we watched that picture, it again affects our mental health. So there are conditions, there are what we call disorders, which need a psychiatrist, a psychologist to diagnose, so that proper medical treatment is given. But again, there are those mental health issues that need a psychologist to engage. And for us, all of us as Kenyans, even for you as you're having this conversation, calling people to the bright side of life, where we can engage and bring healing, and to help people see that there's a brighter side despite what is happening.
Yeah, because this is how the conversation has begun. We are talking about mental issues concerning our children, and even the risk of the children being suicidal. Yes, because it is what is happening on ground, and we need to be very careful. We need to be aware. We need to open our eyes to see, so that we may be able to even prevent whatever heartbreaking incident that might happen way ahead of us. We want to look at the causes. Yes, we have looked at the signs of probably your child is going through some mental issue or some mental upheaval. So how do we know the causes? Because there has to be a cause towards that particular sign or symptom. And Dr. Nancy.
Yes, yes.
Auntie Nancy, sorry.
Maybe when I grow up, I'll be a doctor. I've been fighting to do.
No, you have to get there. Hiyo mimi nimeweka. Pokea sasa.
Haya. Nimepokea. Thank you, Aunty J. Yes, there are some things that we that may cause or they may interfere with our children's mental well-being. For instance, if there is domestic violence in our homes,
yes,
where there is, the home is just too hostile. Parents are fighting each other. Children are not corrected in love. That is one big thing that may cause mental anguish in our children, and their well-being is affected.
Yes.
So negative homes, just a negative environment, or what they call the negative vibes at home, that's is one serious cause. Again, in school, if the school is not friendly, where maybe there is bullying, the teachers keep calling the children names, or they don't correct them in love, because I keep saying that discipline, because even the Bible talks about discipline. Discipline is training in love. But when it's just punishment just, I beat you, you feel pain, then
that's it.
It's not corrective. So whatever it is that the school are doing, if they want to punish the child and not discipline the child, then again that may cause mental anguish to a child. Again, we talk about maybe a child watching a sick parent at home. If there is sickness, extreme sickness at home, that also may cause the child to be their mental well-being. Maybe they've even had of a close death. There is death in the family, and a close family member,
yes,
or a neighbor. If the neighborhood they're living in is not safe, there is poverty, or maybe there is violence within the environment. All those may lead to increased mental instability, or it may affect their mental well-being.
Yes.
So parents need to rise up, so that if, for instance, the parents are having a domestic or a couple issue, deal with it in a way that will not cause the children to think, is mommy in trouble? Are my parents going to divorce? Now we are seeing a lot of divorces.
Yes.
Divorce and separation, again, is something else. I don't want to get into the issues of faith, because we've seen that there are some children who are being brought up in cultic homes, where they are denied food in the name of faith, belief, and all that may cause our children to be affected. Again, going back to what happened in our schools the last few months, the fires, the school buses, maybe the school buses are not being driven well, and the children are like, oh, the driver today was we were almost hit. Again, the school environment, like schools where there are swimming pool, where the swimming pool area, a child just fell. All that, when a child sees another child fall and break their hand, that causes them to fear. Then you tell your child next time to go for swimming, and they're like,
I can't.
I don't want, or I have a stomachache today, because it's swimming and they do not want to to go to school. All this may cause mental instability in our children, and all this again should call for us as parents to see what is it that we can do, because all these things are things that we are able to do something so that we are able to protect our children. Lately we've heard of toxic parenting.
Yes, exactly.
Because there are parents who have been brought up in toxic environments, so they pass on their toxicity without knowing that they call their children names, abusive language, not caring, because children are there to be taken care of.
Yes.
Not nurturing. Children are meant to be nurtured because they are still young. Whether they are 0 or whether they are 17. See, how do you nurture that child so that they can be ushered into adulthood before they start adulting? Sometimes we make them to start adulting too early.
Yes.
And we need to separate that from, because there is and nowadays we are seeing parents trying to raise responsible children, then they offload too many duties too early. It is okay for the children to do house chores. They need to know how to take care of their environments and all that. But when a child is left, a mother, because a parent has to leave very early, and they leave that child to manage that household properly, very neatly, the way mommy or daddy would do it, then the parents come back in the evening and they find that the child washed dishes but they're not very clean, and that child is disciplined. That is child abuse, and it will cause mental instability, and the child will be very, very distressed, and their mental well-being will be affected, because a child cannot do it to perfection like a parent. You've been doing it like for 30-40 years. This is just a 10-year-old. Yes, you told them to make the bed, to clean the house, to maybe take care of their sibling, and that is negatively, and we are seeing a lot of that, by the way, where the child is burdened too early with adult issues and expected to perform like an adult, yet this is a child. And it causes a lot of distress on a child, and it affects their mental well-being. So as parents, as we nurture our children, let's give them duties and responsibilities. For me, I'm a big believer in equipping our children so that if I'm not there, they can be able to cook. They can be able to clean their clothes. Maybe not to my standard, but they will not be stuck. But let it not be a point of abuse, which has become very common, and they are beaten. You didn't clean very well, you didn't.
It becomes like they're given marks on what they have done.
At their level. Let them operate at their level, because they are children, and nurture them as you do that. Always congratulate.
Umesikia hizo maneno. What have you said to your child this morning? Ama umetoka kimwambia na nikirudi nipate hizo vyombo ziko bado chafu,
na kitanda imepigwa pasi.
What have you spoken to that child this morning? Have you told them you love them, first of all? Because that is where it begins. How we speak to our children really, really matters.
We've talked about domestic violence. Maybe there would be homes that are, the parents are not together, or they are together but they are fighting too much, and we have said it affects the mental well-being of our children. So in case there is a breakup of relationship, maybe there is divorce and separation, let's not assume that our children, that these are adult matters. They are no longer adult matters if there is another human being involved. The children need to know the truth, because identity, and those are some of the issues, the esteem issues, because like I want to imagine that this child, maybe they're in their adolescence or getting into their teenage, and that's why they're able to speak about some of these issues, because identity is key in any human being. Unakumbuka hata Jesus akiwauliza, who do you think I am?
And what do people say that
identity is key, because the people who know their God, you must know. You must know who you are. So, and esteem issues are built by knowing who you are. Who do people say you are? Who are you socially? First, you know who you are. Again, you get feedback from significant people, your parents, your siblings. When a colleague tells you look beautiful, that's feedback. It pumps you up. So let's not bottle up our children. When they raise up something of concern, some may think they are too short. Like the other day, my daughter was telling me the other girls are having their busts are showing signs. And their hips are showing, and I told her, look at your mother. Because most probably you'll have some genetics, some genes like your mother.
Yes.
So most probably you'll be like me. You may not be as tall. Some children will get acne, others will not. So let's talk about it.
Yes.
Talk about it.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We were at the point of knowing the causes. We want to know now. We've known that our child or our children are going through this stuff.
Yes.
So how do we remedy so that they may not go into deeper conditions or deeper issues in terms of their mental well-being?
Yes. Remedy number one is talk.
Yes.
Talk is powerful. Word. Just speaking life, or even bringing those hard conversations to the table, as hard as they may be. Daddy left us. We are not able to afford that game right now or that outfit. Talk about it, no matter how difficult it is. We should not hide anything.
Yes.
Touch therapy. Our children need touch.
Wow.
Because touch is very, very powerful. To little children, we, like the young ones, there is what we call kangaroo parenting. Even children who are born premature, they can either be put in the incubator, but also parents are encouraged to do kangaroo. As our children grow, we must normalize hugging them, touching them. As they grow older and they don't want the hug, bring them by your side. Hata kama ni kupimana
Side
height.
hug.
Ebu come here, side hug. Like you're trying to, you see the way you have grown. And they tell you, Mommy, I can see. Now I'm even taller than you.
Yes,
Just that touch. And in the process of that, you're touching them. That's very, very important. Because touch communicates love, acceptance. You're able to pick if this child is having any esteem issues. You are able to bring them close and tell them, me and you, we can face the world. It doesn't matter what anybody else is saying out there.
Yes, true.
So touch. Encouraging them to participate in activities that will build them. And I love our churches now. We see a lot of churches doing or coming up with very, very good programs. Let's encourage our children to plug in.
Yes.
Again, there are people who have come up with programs where even some parents pay, like clubs, because children need to be, the way children are created, they need a lot of activities as they grow. And activities that are not just keeping them busy, but also building them. Because remember, they're also finding their place in the world, their vocation, their talents. Where can they use their talents? If it's church, playing the musical instruments, if it's speaking, if they are dancers, you see, like the good songs we are hearing today.
Yes.
Even at home, let's make our homes child friendly, where they can be able to dance, bring in their friends, help them cook, just engage the child. Aunty J, I keep saying children are little human beings. It's only that me and you have been around longer.
Exactly.
We are children who have been around longer. So let's deal with these children the way we would want ourselves to be dealt with. When we are going through a difficult situation, would you want somebody to block you? Or would you want somebody to come by your side and encourage you?
Come by my side,
life?
of course, and speak life. That is what I would wish.
Yes. So we have everything that we need around us to help to manage our children's mental well-being. So speaking life is very important.
It's very important, especially that you say that think about it as a family. And sometimes I think as we speak to our children, probably as a mother or as a father, is how is important is it for the father or the mother on how they communicate with their children?
Very, 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 very important. When I started and I said that there are some conditions, mental health conditions, that one may be able to pick. These things you can't pick if you are not in a relationship. If you are a father and a mother who is not connected to the children, so you don't know how Aunty J behaves. So even when she is not behaving the way, the normal that one cannot tell if there is no relationship. So it's very, very important that our homes become safe havens where we speak life to each other, where we can check on each other. how are you today?
Yes.
What is happening in your life? You know that question, how was school today? What was the highlight? What did you like about school?
Probably the first thing that when the child or the girl
Yes,
gets
they walk
home,
in.
you go with, you must do your homework first.
Actually, that is one wrong thing that we do. I also had to grow up out of that. Because I have 4 children, and the little one is now the one who is in school. And I also learned now to start asking that question, how was your day?
Yes.
I want to hear the good and the
and
bad.
the bad.
Yeah. And sometimes she'll tell me, today there was no bad, or today there was nothing good about school. And just that conversation opens up an opportunity for this child to express themselves. Sometimes they will cry when they remember the bad that happened. Maybe they were punished. Maybe they fought with a friend. Maybe somebody said something mean. Those are very, very important aspects of mental well-being for us as parents to nurture our children.
Yes.
And even for us now, they know they can ask us, Mommy, how was your day today?
Yes, true.
Yeah. And you're also able to engage with them, because mental health is fed by talk.
Yes.
Life. So even as parents, it's very, very important in our families that we pump up each other in our homes. Just speaking life, finding out how are you, checking out what are you struggling, finding out from our teenagers, when they get that acne, what do you think about this? How can I help you? Even finding out, how can I help you? How can I support you today? Even with homework, just finding, because sometimes you go home and you're so tired.
Exactly.
But you have work that you need to do. Just getting somebody to ask you, what can I do? How can I help you to help you achieve that?
Sawa. So
Very
communication is very important.
Key is
like
very, very
I always say that you become your child's biggest fan. Biggest fan, like
Yes.
like the sports people, they
Yes.
have fun.
Yes.
So your child
Yes.
requires you to be the biggest fan of what they are doing.
Yes.
So that they
cheer
can
them up.
cheer them up.
Clap for them.
Yes.
Call them out. Unatuuza wewe. Remind them who you are. You are Lulu.
Yes.
And this is not the Lulu that I know. So you
Yes.
can call them out. You can cheer them up. You can encourage them. You can see something that they don't know, and you just be the biggest fan, as you're putting it. Aunty J.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Probably want to know if now a child probably has a mental issue, what will be the signs that the parent can look for if probably there is something wrong with the child mentally?
Yes. And don't forget how we started in the beginning.
Yes.
That there are mental health disorders. Conditions. Yeah. Then there's just the general mental well-being.
Yes.
That is impacted by, like the happenings, the environmental factors.
Yes.
In school, maybe there's a child who is being bullied. Of course, that affects them.
Yes.
They have a nanny who is not so good. All those.
Yes.
Or maybe there is poverty at home. There is no food. That child has not, all those are factors. So let's separate those two.
Yes, exactly.
Issues, because if it's a mental disorder, then there needs to be medical intervention. A psychologist to diagnose first, to do a proper assessment, and this assessment will be based on the reports from the parents and also from the child and any other caregiver. So let's talk about just the general mental well-being.
Yes.
What are some of the things that a child may present and a parent needs to observe? For instance, when a child is too moody, and again I said, when we talk about moods, there is the age factor. But you see a child who is so irritable all the time, because generally and naturally, even we are told that the kingdom of God is we need to be like children for us to inherit the kingdom. So there is just something about children that they are alive. Them, they don't care. As long as amekula, whether it's just ugali and turungi, ameshiba, ako sawa. So just irritability. If a child is too irritable or too moody, if a child is constantly and always complaining about being bored, but but then that's a big one that we have seen lately in our profession.
Yes.
Children saying, I'm bored. And they only get excited when
They get a
technology.
Okay.
Because their whole brain now has been, let me use the word, addicted to the screen. Yeah. So if they are not on the screen, they are bored. You tell them to go out, they don't want to play with other children. And you know, children love play.
Yes,
and then they
exactly.
don't care whether they're in front of the president, whether it's in church, on the pulpit.
Anywhere, as long as there's play.
A child, anywhere, they find a way of expressing themselves. And whether it's a little child or even an older child, a teen goes maybe to a place where there are peers. They'll find a way of just formulating themselves. When there is no physical activity in a child, and again, this is age appropriate physical activity, then a parent may notice some weight loss or weight gain, too much or too little, the sleep patterns, just how the child concentrates. Maybe there is poor concentration in school or even at home. One can be able to even tell when the child is just anxious. You get home and the child is too anxious. They are not settled. But like we said, if you're in a family, you'll be able to notice when the child is outside the norm. Because, you know, if it's a parent who has been connected to their child, they know the behavior of each and every of their children, even if they have 5 or 10 or whatever. One can be able to tell. So if a child is outside these grades, if the child is in school, the child all of a sudden doesn't want to go to school, their grades have stopped, they're not, what they used to enjoy is no longer fun. All these are things that we need to notice and be able to engage, talk with our children to know what is happening. Why is it not exciting to go out and play with your friends?
Yes.
Yet we know that children enjoy playing. Yeah. Why is it that you just want to stay in your room? Yeah. That you don't want, even when I tell you, no, let's go out and maybe have a pizza. If it's a teen, the child is not excited. Then all those could be saying something to a parent. Yeah.
It has been noted even for children, they go through mental health issues. Therefore, to avoid any heartbreaking decisions that they might make, then we have to have this conversation. Keep speaking about it because it is happening in our society. So
we need to talk about parents because maybe there could be a listener who has contemplated suicide, or maybe is just having that ideation that maybe life is so hard. There are things that we would do to cope. Because what happens in depression or in when there is mental instability is that people look within. They look inside instead of looking out and looking up.
Okay.
So it's important for when one is going through that season of dullness and all that, to learn to give.
Wow.
When you give, whether you're giving a talk like I am doing, of what we have learned today, would you find spaces when you go to Mama Mboga or even in your school WhatsApp group? Nowadays, many schools have a WhatsApp group.
Yes.
Talk about mental wellness. Give what you have learned. So it's not just material things, but also just talking about what you have learned in life. Having relationships that are adding value to yourself and to others. And these relationships, again, may be giving relationships. They may not be relationships where it's you who is gaining. There may be, maybe you've seen somebody who needs encouragement, and you have that encouragement. You have been there, done that. Today you are the encouragement.
Amen.
Yeah. So have relationships that are adding value in church. If it's at the place of work, relationships that will feed you. So unajua kuna relationships that drain you to the last drop.
Exactly. Yes.
And you leave that person and you're like, I'm so
What
tired.
was that?
I'm tired. What was that? But having relationships that add value, and those relationships again is how are we relating with our children? The way, is your child happy when you're home? Or is your child happy only when they are asleep, because they know at least now I'm not hearing my mother call me all names or sending me all, and I'm not saying kutuma mtoto ni vibaya, but let our children find joy and pleasure being with us. Relationships that encourage. So this goes for us at the place of work. What kind of relationships are you having? Is it just peers who are stretching you to the last drop, to buy the top of the range car every time umeva designer, yet your pocket is that relationship adding value? So being a person who will add value, have a relationship that will add value. Exercise, I don't even want to talk about it. But being able to walk from Pearl Radio to town, it releases the feel good chemicals in the body. Yeah, when you exercise, you feel excited. You see, like the nice songs you're playing for us. Yeah, vile tunacheza. By the way, they don't know how we are laughing.
Hey, they should watch us. But they can watch us.
Oh, they can.
Yes, on live stream on our website.
Oh,
yes, we are live. By the way, they've
you didn't tell me ni paka pake wewe.
They have seen you already.
Really?
Yes. They have seen the real you.
Yes. So it's good to move. Just dance. And dancing, especially like a show like this one, even just dancing with our children in the morning, just that 1 hour will make you come alive. We make the children come alive. You will have you'll have killed so many birds. Interacted, started talking about the faithfulness of God. Just you get into a space that a relationship that is so enriching. Being able to bounce back, because life happens. You see, like the parents who buried their children yesterday. Maybe there are people who are sick or they have lost a child, because life happens, because we are living and life happens. Being able just to bounce back, realizing that in this world we will have many troubles, and that's what the Bible says.
Yes, exactly.
But we thank God that He has overcome, and He's our help when we're in trouble.
Yes.
So just not dwelling, because in like depression or where mental anguish is involved, there is a lot of dwelling and ruminating on negative things, what is not working. Yet if we look around, there are many other little things that are working, that you're not on oxygen. Do you know there are people who can't breathe? There are people who cannot even go to the toilet naturally, and you're able to do that. Just being able to bounce back and allowing yourself to see the bright side of life. And all this helps us to cope, and just to accept when something happens.
It has happened.
It has happened. What do you do if that spouse left? Yeah, maybe that child has been born with cancer. Right now I have a friend of mine, the child has leukemia, but it has happened. You don't wish it on anybody, but this is the lot God has given you. Do you remain in anguish, or do you trust God to help you go through this situation? So parents out there, if there is any having suicidal ideation or maybe has contemplated, there is hope, and reach out and get help. Talk about it. There is no healing in hiding.
Oh, wow.
Talk about it.
Okay, there's no healing in hiding.
There's no healing in hiding, because sometimes we want to look cool and collected, so we don't want to let people know what we are struggling with. And that's now again what we put on our children. Don't talk about it. Don't tell anyone what happened here. We fought, or we slept hungry, or we never tell a child never to tell. Because there's no healing in hiding.
Wow. You are encouraged out there as a child. You are encouraged out there as a listener. Everything that is happening here with me, Aunty Cool J, with Aunty Nancy, getting us to understand several things about our children, and specifically on matters of mental well-being. And we are really, really excited this far. I have learned so many things, and I hope that you have also learned so many things. Now, we had talked about we were to separate about the mental conditions and the mental issues. Probably we could speak about the mental conditions just in a bit.
Yes. Because illness or conditions like any other illness, like we know there are children who may suffer from depression, and all that, those illnesses that we know. So there are also mental illnesses.
Okay.
like depression. Depression is a mental illness. Bipolar, schizophrenia, and all this may affect our children. And sometimes we may say, like, for instance, what was happening yesterday, maybe the funerals and the whatever happens in school that takes away life, it may cause some symptoms of depression. So, for instance, when we talk about depression, it's categorized. There is mild, there is severe, there is moderate. And now it's when it's severe that it needs medical attention.
Yes.
Yeah. So now there are conditions like disruptive mood dysregulation disorder. It's it's a big term, but this condition, it's a condition where the child may become extremely irritable. Remember, irritability, a child may refuse to eat food. They're irritable. Like, for instance, the writer, the person, the listener who wrote on TikTok, the son was so irritable. But now this is extremely irritability, and it will go on for a long time. So when we talk about mental illnesses, there is the issue of period. Sio hii tu amepewa ugali na alikuwa anataka mchele, so they are angry or they fell or they are having a stomachache. So there will be the issue of time. How long?
Okay.
For them to fit in that standard. We have a standard we call a mental standard, so that we separate the regular stresses of life and illnesses. And now that's where we're able to know, is this just a mental well-being issue, or is it a mental illness that needs attention from a psychologist and a psychiatrist? So parents need to be, that's why we said parents need to be in touch with their children. Again, there's the issue of frequency. So there's time
and frequency.
There is frequency. Yeah.
How often does it happen?
Yes, how often does it happen? Then there is the issue, how is it affecting their everyday life? Are they able to continue going to school, to get the grades? Are they able to operate? Because that's how the World Health Organization defines mental well-being. If one is not able to operate normally because of something, then that becomes an issue of concern. So time, how often, how long, those are critical aspects for parents to observe. And also now to discuss. Because, for instance, if a child comes to me as a therapist, I'll have to listen to history, both from the child. I'll ask questions from the child so that I can know how long and how deep, and also from the parent. So observe. Parents, know and love your children. Yeah.
As we wrap up this conversation for today, and even as you give your punchline for today, just final say to the parent, to the child out there, and to our listener. Yes.
Let's feed ourselves with life. Let's feed our children with life, life-giving words. And there is no healing in hiding. So if there is anything that is bothering you, talk. Get somebody to talk to.
Okay.
For there is no healing in hiding.
Wow, I love that. There's no healing in hiding.
Thank you, our listeners. Thank you so much for accompanying us. May the Lord bless you. And just know that you're not alone. You're never alone. And you will never be alone. For Emmanuel, God with us.
Yes.
Emmanuel, see a Christmas by then. Emmanuel.
We are counting down to Christmas. So
yes.
Christmas,
and we imagine that after Christmas at Emmanuel, he's Emmanuel, God with us.
365 days.
365. Alafu anatukumbusha tena Christmas. Emmanuel, God with us.
Amen. Yeah. Thank you so much, Auntie Nancy, for coming.
Thank you, Aunty J.
Thank you for the amazing conversation that we've had.
Amen.
Hey, I'm Cool J.
Yeah,
I'm Auntie Cool
J.
96.9 FM, Pearl Radio.